Hi guys, my name is Oksana and you are on my channel Bless Me More. This video could be really useful for those who are new to the crochet world, especially making amigurumis of different designs and sizes. As I have been crocheting for around 4 years so far, that each time I start my new project, I apply some techniques, some principles, which for me, they became already like, so natural. I don't even think about these things. But as I've seen so many posts, when newbies are so kind of confused or frustrated as when they follow the pattern that they either like find online or purchase, and that their final result is far away from the result they see in the picture. That's why I think it could be useful for you to watch this video. So after watching this video and after trying to acquire these skills, just let me know in comments whether it works for you or not. And as always, I appreciate all your likes and subscriptions. Additionally, if you're searching for some new ideas for your future crochet project, you can check my Etsy store, as I have around 2,000 of different crochet patterns, so maybe you will get inspired. So I'm wishing you to be very delighted with your results, with your final results, and be proud of your work. Let's begin watching the video. So if you are new to crochet, and especially you are into making your amigurumis, I feel that it's my duty to share with you all the tips and techniques that I'm applying each time I start my new project. There are so many small details, that I keep in mind, and they can make a big difference. I believe it's unwise to recommend you one particular yarn because, well, it really depends on where you are, so the availability of the yarn in your local store will depend greatly. When I was living in Ukraine, I was using yarn jeans, but I couldn't find this yarn. It's actually Turkish yarn. I couldn't find it in Qatar, where I have been living. So in their local store, I found a very nice substitute. They're very close. Alize Cotton Gold. And now, as I'm living in Australia, so the closest I found is Annette Erickson jeans. So what is similar between all these examples? They're all half cotton, or maybe even slightly more. So here we have 55% of cotton and 45% of acrylic. Unfortunately, I don't have yarn jeans label with me because I ran out of stock. But here we also have 55% of cotton, and instead of acrylic we have 45% of polyester. I find this yarn to be very pleasant to touch, easy to work with, and easy to take care of. And definitely we want to experiment, and I do love experimenting. So here I found in my local stores, I found this yarn, for example. It's like velvet but not too thick. I don't really like working with thick yarn. However, the project grows super fast. So if you want to make something really quick, still this one is like really medium yarn. But even though it turned out to be so cute and really fast making. I definitely love fluffy yarn, not too fluffy, but slightly. It makes the toy to be really soft and pleasant to touch, but this yarn, it's hard to work with if you are newbie, because you'll not be seeing these stitches. And it's really important to have this experience of feeling yourself confident while crocheting. So do not crochet in blind way if you are still a beginner. And similarly, regardless of the yarn, don't go for dark colors like this one is between gray and black, or black, because it also will be so hard to focus and count your stitches. So go for some light colors. Let's talk about hooks. Well, here I have different ones. My favorite one that I have been utilizing for 4 years is this metal one. It's 3 mm, slightly bended. I also have the smaller one, number 2. I will tell you why do I have 2 and when exactly do I use this one. As you can see, I have some disaster happened lately. It was probably 3 or 4 days ago. I honestly don't use these hooks, but because I took some chunky fluffy yarn, and I was really surprised that it broke because there was no tension. I mean, it bended once, and when it bended second time, it just snapped in 2 pieces. So I've seen many posts on Facebook in crochet groups that many crocheters, they experience the same with these hooks, and also with the hooks with the handle, because handle can break. But well, this one, it's really nice, very famous brand, Tulip. Also there is Clover, so it would be the combination of this hook, but with a very comfortable handle. Unfortunately, I don't use it because the one I have, it's a very small size for me. Although it writes number 3, but it's 1.7 millimeters, and I'm using 3 millimeters. I got it as a gift from a yarn store. Your yarn will always have a recommendation what kind of hook or needles. For instance, here it shows from 2 to 4 millimeters. So I'm in between with 3. But usually yarn shows you the size bigger, much bigger than you need. So always stick to smaller. For example, here I have hook 5 millimeters, but I was using 3.5 because even 4 was already making my amigurumi to be very loose. Almost any project in amigurumi starts with a magic circle or magic ring. So you can see here we have circle, legs, arms. Well, here is everything, and it's very important for us to learn to do it right. I have a video showing how do I make a magic circle, but also even here I want to guide you a little bit more. Additionally, I would recommend you using your thread from the middle of your skein. Because when you do it from the outside, you can meet a lot of resistance. So once you're crocheting, you know, and if it's not rolling, yeah, if you don't have a kitty which is helping you, so then it will be like each time you need to do the move, you know, by pulling more. And yeah, so that's why it will not be rolling, it will not be moving, it will be effortless if you pull it from the middle. But of course, like some skeins, it's really challenging to find the middle, and when I'm that much desperate, I just use the upper thread. Well, here I see a benefit that we can use the same skein of yarn by crocheting 2 details simultaneously, right? So I don't need to start a new ball of yarn. Here I have a leg, and I'm going to make a hand. I already have one made. So I am making one more voodoo doll. They're very popular these days. If you're interested in pattern, you can find it in my Etsy store. Well, it has been updated, the pattern itself, because it had a few errors. So now it's super safe and flawless. Here you see I have a stitch marker, so I do always use stitch markers. Do not lose my count of stitches, and sometimes it may slow down your crochet, so I will tell you like when you can drop using it and how to count your rows and not be lost. So let's start with the magic circle. I always do magic circle with 6 stitches in the loop. Then you need to pull it tight, but at this stage not at the tightest, because we need to make a slip stitch. I always lock my magic ring with a slip stitch. So if you feel that it's too tight, that's why I told you that I have with me always a smaller crochet hook, 2. So here it will be effortless. I always close my magic ring with a slip stitch, and see, I already like by my habit pull it strong, because at this point we already can lock it fully. I switch back, and I don't continue crochet till I mark my last stitch. Well, it's really like a classic when you start increasing your circle by increasing in each stitch. So we have 6 and we increase in each. So we'll finish this row with 12, and the next row as a standard it goes 1 stitch, 1 increase. Let's take it gradually. So here my hands actually will have 12 stitches in a row or in a round, so I will not need to increase anything else. So I always like unlock my last stitch, and I crochet increase in it by following the pattern. Okay, so in the very beginning it's so important to be sure, because we don't want to find a mistake somewhere further, because it will be already time spent on our project and effort. So I always double check that I have 12 stitches. If I don't do it now, so at least I do count my next row. I will count 12 to make sure that I didn't lose any stitch, I didn't add anything. And also, as you can see here, I didn't do any kind of slip stitch. I just continue crochet in a spiral. And well, what I've noticed that the beginners, the learners, the challenge is probably to hold it all with the right tension. You know, do not pull it too strong, then you will have a mark here, and don't make it too loose, because we also don't want to have holes in our project. We want it to be beautiful and nicely made. So it's somewhere in the middle of the tension. Well, definitely the all stitches cannot be like identical millimeter to millimeter, but more or less, hopefully they're the same. So once I know that I'm safe here, I have 12 stitches and I need 12, and I will need to repeat them 18 times. Okay, so here I don't need to lock each single row, because it will slow me down, because to lock it takes time, then unlock it takes time. So here I will just continue my project, and it will be fast and smooth. And later on we'll just count and we'll see how many rows do we have and how many is left. Well, here I'm going to pause because I want to make my hand longer, because I want to show you the way I stuff the toy filler inside of amigurumi. Although this hand is still not made, it's still in the process, I will start stuffing now, because I do it gradually. So if it's something narrow like this, I use my hook. So I will stuff it this way. Well, in any case, I'm not going to stuff it till the end. Any hands I make closer to the top, I never stuff them because I don't want my amigurumi to be muscular, and I don't want the hands the arms to stand this way in this position, you know. And you can see here with teddy bears the same story. So I stuff this part but not this. I don't need to worry much about how many rows I have here because I will count it later on. Because I can compare that it's still far till the end, I will just continue crocheting, and still I will stuff one side each, maybe here, my toy stuffing. I'm not sure what it is because before I was always purchasing hollow fiber. It has like balls, you know, little balls, but in the local stores I find here this is the only one available. Here also pay attention, as we talked about the benefits that we have two threads from the same skein of yarn, but they get tangled. So don't wait till the stage where you cannot undo them, okay? So do it gradually. And especially it's harder once it's some fluffy yarn or let's say dark colors, so keep in mind. My other hand is finished. Now I stuffed it a little bit more, and also I need to do it equally, right? So I check with my fingers that I need to have empty space here, like the width of my thumb, and here, right? And how do I know that this is where the row ends? Because, well, if I look here, you see it was our magic circle, and well, if I start tracking this stitch, it will take me somewhere here, which I don't want. So that's why I don't care how it goes, but I'll just try to see that they should be parallel here, the beginning and the end. Here we're going to crochet through both halves. It's also very standard. So we insert hook here and here, and also crochet single crochet stitches, and pay attention that you must have the same number of stitches you close your hand with. The same number you already did, because it also can be plus minus one stitch, and then it will be visible, you know, because we're going to sew it to the body. So here I believe it was 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 it is. Well, sometimes it can be like if one stitch is only left, we can make one more stitch, but well, here it's not needed. You see, it's just perfectly well the way it is. And because I'm going to use the same thread to sew to the body, that's why I need it to be somehow this long. Why? Because it's also like one of the don't know, philosophies I follow each time I crochet. I always sew 2 times, one direction and the other direction. So the stitches that were not sewn, I will sew it on the way back. And either you can just take it out. Well, sometimes I just take it out, sometimes I lock it, so because I make it symmetrical and I lock it here, so I'll lock it there. Well, you know, before I locked, I double checked that, because, well, this one, you know, it had more rows than this one, but looked like the same length. But you know, maybe you just need to stretch it a little bit. If this one was more loose, then it will be probably longer, and if this one is more tight, it will be slightly shorter. So more or less it's the same, but I still feel, although the number of rows is the same, This one is slightly shorter. A new challenge may come once we need to connect two legs with a chain. So it's like one of the techniques of making the legs and the body. So from the legs it will go slowly to the body. Here the problem could be is that there might be holes and we don't want it to happen. So I'll show you. Here, you know, there is also like slightly bigger gaps, but because I was stuffing this voodoo a lot, really, I made it to be more stuffed than the others because I have pins here, so I don't want pin go through all the body and pinch somebody who holds the voodoo. So that's why I could say even slightly overstuffed it. So how to avoid such mistakes? Here I'm going to make chain of 2, and because I'm following the pattern, and I'm going to continue this row. And I always count, especially here, because it's always plus minus 1 stitch, such a mystery. So far it's clear. We're going to just crochet around, and then we will get to the chain from the other side. So I finished the stitches, and now we need to go to the chain, right? And we need to crochet 2 into halves. But if we do that, you see how big the hole is? We don't want it to happen. So what do I do? First of all, you see, I also cut here the thread long. It could be even longer. In case I still didn't fix my holes with the technique I'm going to use right now. So this will be my plan B, and I'm going to, you know, stitch or sew from inside. So here I kind of apply like a technique of invisible decrease. So I don't suppose to crochet this stitch, but still I pull one loop out, and now I insert the hook into this half of the chain, and I just make a single crochet. See, if you wish, you can even take smaller hook or make bigger tension, so our hole will be very small and almost invisible. So here I just had my chain, and again I'm supposed to start my row here, but I'm going to make the same, acquire the same technique. So this is my stitch number 1. It doesn't increase, so but it's just closing this big space. And then I just crochet till the end of the row. If I feel it becomes like again big distance, I just make it tighter, because it's like one of the you know, one of things which is noticeable in your amigurumi, the gaps, and we want to avoid them. And here I reach the chain again, but we don't have this problem anymore. Yeah, just like this, because I'm pulling, and we just crochet 2. Okay, so once I relax, it's all fine, it's all good. And further, just didn't like that it went this way. It shouldn't be through a half, it should be through all. And this is the end of our row, because we had the complete around the leg, one direction of the chain around the leg and one direction of the chain. So I mark it as the end of the row. And later on, if you still feel like something is not good, but here everything is fine, you'll just see how fine it is once I just crochet more, and I'll show you. So that's why we don't need to use this plan B now, but I always leave it for myself, especially if I'm going to stuff the teddy really well. So we need to be very careful about the gaps. And as I haven't stuffed this leg, and I showed you that I use crochet hook for stuffing if the detail is narrow, but if it's wide enough, we just can use our finger or fingers. So I do it gradually. It must be reachable, because we don't want these areas in the beginning to be empty, right? So if it happens, if I feel like, yeah, there is like more stuffing and it doesn't go to the bottom, so then I can take a smaller hook, because smaller hook will make a smaller hole, and then I can just pull it inside a little bit, because if I do it with the bigger one, so I will stretch this space or anywhere I insert the hook into. So that's why it's like extra hook that does some extra job. I have finished a few more rows, and let's come back and see our gaps. Well, they're like very small. If you are a perfectionist, I have this tendency, like if I stretch this one, right, if we feel we are not really happy, so we can still fix it, right? So you can just take a needle, make one knot, right, and don't pull also till the end once it's already somewhere here, and then it will be not comfortable for us to manipulate. So I'll just take a needle and make one knot to close this hole. So I did it just like one knot inside there, and it's perfect, right? Then I can just have my conches clean and continue my crochet. I will be back once I reach the stage of decreasing the stitches. I completed the number of rows I need, and starting this row I'm going to decrease. One more point I forgot to mention. I've noticed it with time, and at first I was ignoring it. So once I finished the row, I told you that I use my stitch marker, and then I just continue crochet. But I've also noticed that usually here it's, you know, less tension, because I'm putting the stitch marker. So once I just finish this way. So what I'm trying to say, this is the end, right? I will redo it. So this is the end of my row, and I will I will just continue my next row, and will put my stitch marker here. So now there are no chances that here the gap will be bigger. Okay, so now I'm going to crochet. I reached the point once I need to make decrease, and in my video about the basics of crochet, or crochet basics, I was showing the difference between invisible decrease and just decrease. Usually I go for the regular decrease. I leave one out, and in the next one I crochet my single crochet stitch. And also I shouldn't, like, you know, leave the tension here, because I don't want it to be loose. So immediately I crochet my next one. Well, here you see I don't need really to do anything else because you know the crochet hook and the yarn and the tension I'm using, they all make it work. If you feel that your gap is visible, so then you can go for an invisible decrease. Especially, you know, once we are reaching the last rows where we need to decrease very frequently, then it becomes more visible. So you see what just happened? I started here. I didn't do anything, I just left it here. And I started here, and then 3 loops on the hook, they become 1, and also with a good tension I make the next stitch. You see, even this one better, but because it's voodoo, you know, it doesn't really need to be that much flawless, right? Because of the character. And if you feel like you are doing both, I mean tension and invisible decrease, and still you have a problem, so especially it's visible with thick yarn or once you have a bigger hook than you need, so then just take a smaller hook. So I will have been using all my project number 3, now I take number 2, and if I do this invisible decrease with the tension and small hook, then you see, for sure there will be no problem with any yarn and any project. I have completed my body. It looks small, but you need to keep in mind that always the size becomes bigger and looking more proportional once you're adding your hands. So then it doesn't look small anymore, it looks the way it should be. And now we're going to sew the head to the body or body to the head. We take it like a puzzle. So we'll take turns, 1 stitch from the top, 1 stitch from the bottom, and also be careful, we don't want to sew the toy filler, we don't want it then to look out, and we just repeat in this manner. So 1 down, 1 up. Right, once I'm approaching till the end, I'm not going to continue till I make sure that the neck is stuffed well. So also be very careful, don't make a very slim neck or long, because then your head will be tilted or falling back unless you insert inside something, which I never do. So right proportions will do the job, and I do avoid the patterns where you need some like plastic skeleton or joints. And you know, honestly here I don't feel the necessity to make 1 more round, because the neck and the head, you know, they're all holding really well, so I don't need to do it as the extra precaution. So we can just already had 1 knot here, it's where they were connected. But you know, once the neck is thinner, then definitely I do 2 rounds, and I always do 2 rounds if I need to connect the arms and the legs. So here definitely we don't need to connect legs. Well, I don't cut it at first. I try to hide it all inside the body. You know how to be like extra filler inside. Okay, and then I can take a smaller hook and complete the job. Well, with other projects, I love making teddy bears. I do start, and once I finish the head, I don't sew it to the body till I make it all. I sew the nose because it's easier to manipulate. But because here we are just going to sew the eyes, it's even easier to do it once everything is connected. Since it's my voodoo and for the decorative purposes, I'm going to sew the button, but otherwise, if I don't need, I can just already start and connect the hand or arm. So you see, so we have this chain facing us. I always connect in this way. Okay, well, I try to go either for one stitch down or 2 stitches down. Well, it depends. If I have some decoration on the neck, then I will probably leave 2. So if I put some scarf, or like here I have a bow, or I can just place it and connect here. Okay, now I'm ready. Well, usually I also prefer putting the hands, putting arms slightly, like let's say 1 stitch more forward, you know, rather than back. Or it can be just in the middle if it's the body structure like this. So this is what's happening. And this one, because I don't want to go too far, you know, or too, I mean like too close to the middle. So I'll just take it out here. And then I will make a knot, and also to reduce the gap. So if we want, we could hide it inside, or we can still make 1 round, as I told you. Especially I go for 1 more round if it's a big project. And the very last step would be to decorate your amigurumi. So it can be different accessories depending what your project is, or it could be some cute buttons, or maybe some neck accessory. So I hope this video was useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye bye.